Coming up on Theater Talk.
How was it as a young African-American woman, as a young black woman, winning an Oscar in that environment, which must have been very shocking?
What I would say, if anything, it was a blessing and a little odd to be only the fourth African-American woman to win. I think as in supporting or just period.
Theater Talk is made possible in part by the CUNY TV Foundation. From New York City, this is Theater Talk. I'm Susan Haskins.
And I'm Michael Riedel of the New York Post. Now, Susan, we just saw The Color Purple, a revival on Broadway, and I have to tell you, it is one of the best musicals I have seen in a long time. And I say this as someone who was not crazy about the first production I saw, but over the years I began to listen to the album, which has a fantastic score. But this production shows me that The Color Purple deserves to be considered among the classics of the American musical theater.
Yes.
It's directed by our old friend, Mr. John Doyle, making his umpteenth appearance on Theater Talk.
Now listen.
Star Broadway director.
Okay, Mike.
We discovered you.
I don't like that word old.
How about veteran? You
That'll
prefer
do.
that?
I can quote the
Veteran.
veteran, yeah.
We discovered you with a famous Sweeney Todd that you did with just the...
Well, yeah, you did. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You'd be nothing without
I was
us,
doing
yes.
it before you discovered me.
So we're told, yes.
Yeah, but that's true. That's 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago.
And I remember having dinner with you at Patsy's.
Yes,
with
you spoke about yourself for 2 hours. I loved
Wait, I thought I was interviewing I was interviewing you, wasn't I? I do remember an extremely good bottle of Italian red wine.
There you go.
John has assembled an absolutely superb cast for The Color Purple, and I'm delighted tonight to be joined by Danielle Brooks as Sophia. Welcome to Theater Talk.
Thank you so much.
A brilliant new discovery for us here on Broadway. Cynthia Erivo as Celie. Welcome. From England.
Yes.
Welcome to America.
Thank you.
And, this minor pop star you may have heard of before. What's her name? Jennifer Hudson, who is making her Broadway debut as Shug. Welcome all and congratulations on the
Thank you.
successful show.
Thank you very much.
John, I want to start with you. What prompted you to take a look at The Color Purple?
I didn't choose to be honest with you. I was doing a roadshow, the Sondheim musical, Sondheim Weidman musical at the Chocolate Factory. And David Babani, who runs the Chocolate Factory, on the opening night said to me, I've got this piece I'd like you to look at. And, you get that a lot. If a show's been vaguely successful, you get that on opening nights. I thought, yeah, fine. And I said, well, what is it? He said, it's The Color Purple. And I thought, he's lost his mind. I mean, I'm not going to do The Color Purple. For lots of reasons, some of which are really, serious reasons. I thought it was questionable. But I said, okay, well, send me the material, And then I thought, if I'm going to take this at all seriously, I ought to read the novel again, which I'd read when it first, not long after it first came out. And I thought, this is beautiful. This is special and beautiful and deserves to be told. I didn't know what I felt about going back to the Chocolate Factory to do that. There's no money, there's no resources, there's a lot of reasons not to, but there was enough reason, I thought, in the material to do so. And I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this, but I went to university here in this country. I went to the University of Georgia, where the
takes place,
where the piece takes place. So that's what led me to doing it in London, and then I put together a lovely company there, which Cynthia was there. We'd not met before, met at an audition, and that felt very special, and we had a really good time with it. Mm-hmm. I certainly didn't expect that it would come to Broadway at that point in time, but Mr. Brantley came to see it, and he quite liked it, and that's why we're talking to each other today. Really.
That helps in this business. Yeah. Now, I'm curious, Cynthia, when is the the first time you came across The Color Purple as the novel, or did you see the show or the movie with Whoopi?
I saw the movie first, and then I read the book. I had never seen the show. And then I wanted to be truer to the book than the movie in performance, so I went back to the book again. Yeah.
And what does that entail, being truer to the book than the movie?
Well, I guess the book is almost a series of letters, and in it you get to see the world through Celie's eyes. You see what she sees, you feel what she feels. So it's less of a look outwards, but you can look through her eyes. You see what she sees.
Now, Jennifer, when you were a kid, did you see the musical at all ever? Or?
Well, I saw the film first,
Yeah.
obviously, then read the book, and then later saw the play. Yeah, but it wasn't when I was a kid, though. I was quite grown.
I didn't want to say it.
So I'm like,
You all look so
younger.
They all look so young from this end of the table. They look a lot younger than we are. I
as a
think.
kid. Not as a kid, though.
And the impact on you, Danielle, of the novel first, or did you see the?
Man, I actually saw the movie first. I believe I was at church. I can't quite remember where I was, but I believe I was at church at a summer camp watching it. And then I saw the production. It was the first Broadway show that I ever saw.
Oh, wow.
At 15, my dad took me, and that changed my world. That was the first time I was like, I really want to pursue this as an actress, because I saw people that looked like me on stage and made it possible to say, yeah, I can do this. So to have it be full circle, it blows my mind that I'm sitting here playing Sophia when it's the first show I saw.
Did you see the New York production or?
Yes, yeah, the Broadway production.
The Broadway production, right. Now, Cynthia, you, if I have this correctly, you auditioned for John. Did you know who she was, or was just she walks in off the street, and what was the impact?
I can remember the terrible, horrible, dirty room we were in.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember it was all rather fast. You had to go and do something else.
Yeah.
Am I right?
That same
We've never
day.
talked about this.
It was either a rehearsal or
Something that
another
was
audition
in
that I had to
between
go.
things.
Yeah.
And I heard Cynthia sing, and I thought, please God, may she do this, really. To be honest, because I was thinking, I don't know how I'm going to find the right kind of human being. You know, for me, look, skill is a big part of the thing, right? Of course, you've got to be able to open your carp and a certain sound come out of it, all of that. But more importantly for me is the humanity of the person. It's the human being, you know. That's how I rehearse, that's how I work, and that I hope sometimes, occasionally, brings out the best in all of us. And I just felt that we would have a good time, really. And then always thinking, you know, people always say, oh, well, then we'll take it to Broadway, and then you always think, that's not really actually going to happen. I never think it's going to happen. Well, it did happen.
Yes.
But then for us to come back into the rehearsal room with a whole new group of people, and to negotiate that in terms of not wanting ever to look like we knew more than anybody else,
Right.
because that was really important.
Yeah,
We sort of went back to square one.
Yeah.
And this group of people, and look, you must get so many companies who sit at a table and say, our company's so special. You know, that's what happens in show business. But
They're all lovies.
But I'm absolutely convinced that the work you saw and the reaction you have to it is because of what happened in that rehearsal room. In that it's a very, very special group of people who have really committed themselves to telling the story, not just to telling The Color Purple, but possibly, because of me, I suppose, telling the story in a way that they're not used to storytelling.
Well, what I love, though, I love the chemistry among these three.
Oh, yeah.
And
So,
I want to ask Jennifer, though, when did you decide to commit to a Broadway show? I mean, you have a gigantic singing career. You can play all over the world. And now it's 8 performances a week
Wow.
for the foreseeable future.
Well, it was something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And for me, in my life, I always say, you know, I have like time frames of when I want things to happen. And I said, when I turn 35, I want to do Broadway. And it just happened to be at 34, and the timing was right. And I literally got a call asking if I wanted to do Color Purple. And I was like, sure. It was like not even a second thought about it. I didn't even know what role I was committing myself to or any of that. And I was like, sure, of course I'll do Color Purple. I never imagined that it would be my first show, you know, or if whatever show that would be. But I knew it was something I wanted to do. And so the timing was right. I felt like it was all about the timing.
But now you're a big star. Did anybody on your team say, well, Jennifer, you can't,
this is a supporting role.
No,
No, all right.
not at all.
It's just a strong part.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was more up to me than anything. I was like, yep, I'll do it. Yep, I'll be there. And I really didn't think much else about it. But those turned out to be the most successful things for me. The things that I'm just like, okay, whatever, let's do it. And this was one of those moments, and I felt like I reacted to Color Purple in that way so quickly because it's a story that's so dear to, I think, all of us, you know what I mean? And so, again, I saw it too, like, oh my God, I love this show. And being an actress, I never thought of me in it, but who wouldn't want to be a part of it,
So I'm going to pose a taxing question. I'll start with you, Danielle. She just said The Color Purple is a story that's so dear to us. Why?
I think it's a personal thing, honestly, why it's dear to each person.
But what is it? What is the story what is the strong thing in the story that draws you? An easy question.
I would say what it is, it's real. It speaks of reality. And I've always say, if you are living, you can relate to Color Purple. No matter what color you are, no matter what age you are. It's like looking at Celie's story, for instance. Like, you sit and you watch her go through all of these life struggles and setbacks. And when you see her make it through it, it lets you know you can make it through whatever you're going through.
You see the woman who's so abused,
Yes.
this monstrous life that she is supposed to lead, being conscripted into marriage. I am so haunted by the oppression that she has to overcome.
Resilience.
Yeah.
I think that's ultimately what the story is about, resilience, fighting through. And I think it's relatable because that's what everyone goes through.
Everyone goes through something.
In some way.
Yes.
We go through that personally.
Sadly, The Color Purple is not out of date.
No.
It's
Right.
completely
It's so current.
No,
That's
because the
it's real.
idea that she has to go and, not only be basically raped by this guy all the time, but cook and clean for him and take care of his house, and and be separated from her sister, and that is her life.
Yeah.
Her
But
life.
one thing I also like to bring to the table is she is the main character. But there's also, you look at Mr. and look at his story and all of the things that he's fighting against. Sophia being beaten by her husband and trying to get her marriage. Like, if you go through every character, we're all dealing
Someone
with
to connect
some type
to.
of- Yeah.
That's the hard one,
relate to.
isn't it? Mister, who's the man that you have to marry and who gives you a bad time about 80%
Yeah, we don't come off too well in The Color Purple at the beginning. Joe.
Do you have sympathy for him in the end? You just said you did. I do not.
I never think of it as sympathy. I think that it's an acceptance of someone who didn't quite understand how to go through life and is
Right.
just now learning
Right.
Oh, yeah. And
a
he
new
changes
way.
as
Yeah,
much as
he
she
does. Very
Right.
much so.
He apologizes.
Yeah.
That's a big change in life.
Yes.
And
And it's someone who doesn't really know how to apologise, but has
absolutely.
found some
To a woman.
to a
Yeah,
woman
exactly.
has found a way of coming to terms with actually being human about something and accepting responsibility for wrongdoings and saying, I'm still learning. I'm sorry.
Well, I was thinking about this too because I thought, oh boy, these guys are really coming off as pretty terrible, being a guy sitting there in the audience. And then I realized, well, if he only knew, like an abused child, if he only knew
Right.
a sister
Right.
that abused
Right.
him,
Exactly.
all he knows is how to respond to something with violence.
Right.
And that's why that scene with his father
Yes,
is in the
that's
play.
important.
Yeah.
So
right,
will
that's
we
right.
cut the same slack to slaveholders?
Well,
It's not to forgive him.
she got us on that one.
It's not to forgive him for his behavior, but it's to understand it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
sometimes
Yeah.
you can deal with things better when you have an understanding of where they come from.
And I think as a people, we have done that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I want to get this in just because we may run out of time. Right now we're in the Oscar time. And of course right now we're having this
Diversity.
issue.
Yeah.
You've worked in Hollywood, you're on a hit TV show, you will be working in Hollywood and on a hit TV show soon.
Thank you.
What is your reaction to this Oscars So White controversy?
I think that right now, on Broadway particularly, we're having a great time when it comes to diversity anyway. So I feel like we're sort of a living example of what it can be everywhere else.
You and your show, yes.
Yes, not just our show. I don't think just our show. I
Broadway.
think
Broadway.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Broadway
For once,
itself.
Broadway's ahead of
You know,
everybody else.
Do you know?
I just think we have to broaden what we
Yeah.
say is diversity.
Yeah.
Because diversity isn't just throwing a black person
No.
or a black show into
No.
a space, and that's called diversity. That's not diverse. Well, to me, theater and Broadway is so diverse
Right.
because you have shows that are classical, you have new pieces, you have the plays, the musicals, the hip hop, that's what makes up diversity to me.
Yeah, and you know, you sit in our auditorium any night, any night,
Yes.
because people will always say, "Gosh, do you always get nights like that?" Believe me, it's something. And you have got approximately 50-50,
Yeah.
black and white.
Yeah, it was very
Young,
mixed audience
old.
last
Yeah, and and yes, we could all have we at this side of the table could have the expectation that the black person will put their hand up to the Holy Spirit during the show.
I put my hand up,
The
please.
white people are as well. And
As soon as you say,
and that proves that we're all
like
at
the
the same
call,
level.
my hand was, I said, why is my hand up? And it was
Everybody's amen.
my girlfriend was with me. She said,
That's
"You can't be
diverse."
serious."
But back to Oscar So White.
The song's so good. My hand is up. I loved it.
It was. I was okay. But back to but Oscar So White.
Yeah.
Do you think though that in the business that there's still this built-in racism to the system?
I don't want to say it's racism. I think people aren't aware,
Yeah.
or choosing to ignore, and not understanding how it's affecting people.
Yeah.
I think.
May I ask a question?
Please.
How was it in your year when you won your
Yes.
Oscar?
In what way do you mean?
Well, how was it as a young African-American woman, as a young black woman, winning an Oscar in that environment, which must have been very shocking?
What I would say, if anything, that I do remember most is I thought it was a blessing and a little odd to be only the fourth African American woman
I know.
to win. I think as in supporting or just period. Just now it's about 8 of us. You know, in our day and age, that should be unheard of today.
Unheard of.
And to be the first African American singer to grace the cover of Vogue, or the first African American anything, the first African American to immortalize the Disney princess, Black Disney princess. It's like we're still on the first.
And in leading actresses, I think there are only 2 women to have won a leading role for an Oscar.
And I just think
Which is like,
as far as diversity goes, it should include what the world is.
right.
Correct.
We're all here.
Right.
We're all in it.
Right.
And our art reflects that. Why isn't it all acknowledged?
Right.
It should all be acknowledged. If we're all putting something in the pool of the entertainment, all of that should be looked at. And until then, it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's interesting, when I was watching The Color Purple last night, thinking of it as a classic American musical now. It has in it, doesn't matter what the setting is, what the ethnicity of the characters are, but it has the driving force of all musicals, which is the life force of these characters. I was thinking actually of your Sweeney Todd. Mrs. Lovett is in her own way Celie.
Oh, completely.
Because she's, no matter what comes at her in life,
Yeah.
she is going to barrel through
She
and
just
survive.
dies for it at the end, unlike Celia.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I don't see Mrs. Levitt as Celia.
No,
I have to think about that.
No, but what I'm
she's a
getting at is
fighter like Celia.
exactly, and the spirit of American musicals, like Eliza Doolittle.
Yeah.
It's
You
about
know,
the
they
sur-
all start here with
Particularly in the
nothing, and
women,
they-
it's about
you
survival.
and it's
think
and it's
Mrs.
the
Lovett
life,
would
it's the
be-
driving force of their lives that takes them through the show and brings you along with them.
Yeah.
Susan, you're so square.
I know. I'm just thinking of Celia chopping people up and putting them into
She
pies.
wanted
She-
wanted to. She said I would kill him.
But she made the pants instead.
She made the pants instead of pies.
And well, she
Yeah.
she got to a point where she had enough, and really and truly, the only thing she knew of, well, you know, violence begets violence. The only thing she knew of to get something right was to create.
Yes, I think in relation to your point about the American musical theatre, if we look back in time at the strong women, you know, the Mermans and the Lupones and
Mama Rose.
Bernadette Peters, and all of those women who are all strong. I've worked with some of them, I know they're all strong, wonderful forces of nature. We've not until now had the opportunity to see black women take on that mantle. It's a new door, I think. I really do. That's not to say that Audra hasn't played strong women. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But the way the you know, This piece in particular is about women, fundamentally about women. And a lot of musical theatre writers have chosen a woman to write about, but not women to write about.
Right. We've only got a couple minutes left, but I want to go back to your direction of this because, there was that Color Purple production, and that was a very diffused staging in that production, which it made it I didn't feel it worked so well either. Where did you get the inspiration? I know you've boiled things down before, to stage it in the way you did.
Yeah,
what was your guiding principle?
First of all, I'd like to say that it's really much easier with a musical the second time out, right?
Yes.
Doing a new musical on Broadway with all of those forces against you, and that's what it feels like, is no easy thing. So God bless Gary Griffin. I'm the lucky one, right?
Right.
People call me a minimalist, whatever that might mean. It's not true, actually. I've never said that about myself, but that's what they say about me. And they,
you bring it in under budget.
Yeah, that's right. I do it cheap. I'm interested in the audience's imagination. That's all I'm interested in. And I do believe that if theatre's going to survive, then it has to do that. It has to, because that's what we have that is different from the movies, which are so glorious. And it is this extraordinary thing that every member of the human race that comes into that auditorium has got the opportunity to imagine. And there are certain techniques used in the earlier part of the story, when she births a baby, for example, from a sheet, that is about the imagination, right? I don't want to get too personal, but I remember being a little boy taking a sheet off my bed and pretending it was a baby. What we have is our own stuff, right? That's all I have as an artist, my own stuff. So the mechanisms that you use to get you to the point that the audience imagines is what I'm interested in. And I really do believe that that's why at the end of that evening, when it comes to the Amen, some nights they sing with it, and it's because they've all been. They think they've been to Africa. All that happened were some women put baskets on their head and slightly changed the way they held it.
And you have the lovely
they thought they'd been
very
to
pretty.
Africa.
Yeah.
So but the techniques are very, very simple. Now, it can take I'm old, so it takes a whole lifetime to learn how to be simple.
Now, let me ask you, though, you have three very strong personalities, three divas, if you will.
Good divas.
In the good sense.
I want to ask you, is he a bigger diva than all of you put together?
He's a seasoned diva.
Veteran diva.
You know who's in charge? Is it?
Yes.
And
Without a word.
What are you learning from this man as a director? I mean, he's been around, not that he's old, but he's been around for a little bit.
I've learned a lot because for me, this is all very new. And because John knows this world and is from England as well, it's like someone is able to sort of hold my hand as I go along. And sometimes when we're doing stuff, I always check, are you going to be there? Are you going to be there? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to be there. So everything from how to settle, how to live in this place, how to make the schedule work with me so that I know my energy can do everything, how to not get so bogged down with certain things when how to make sure that the story is the most important always. There's a number of things that this one has taught me, very much so, and it's just helped the whole process to getting to this point.
Mm-hmm. And for you, Danielle, something that...
Oh man, there's been so many things, but what's coming to my head, really, I have a notebook of things, but what I've been thinking about is bringing what's necessary and leaving the rest. Mm-hmm. I remember one time we were in rehearsal and he kept taking all of my props and all of my costumes, and I didn't get a jacket anymore, or like the nice fur coat, and I was like, I'm missing the coat. Why did I not have it? And he was like, you don't need things to add the character. The less, the more that people see, the more that like we were talking about imagination and you get to use your own creativity. So that's something that's really stuck with me. Bringing what's necessary and getting rid of the cloaks that's not. Is something that I've gained from this one.
And for you, making your Broadway
I will have
debut?
to add to that and say learning that simplicity is the key and trusting what you have, and that, and just like hanging on his every word. I just sit and watch him like, no, you're the director, I'm not taking my eyes off of you, things like that, because he is like just, I don't know, like we're just so in awe and captivated by everything he has to say and the way he teaches. It's amazing.
she's not been on a Broadway stage. None of them had been on a Broadway stage before, but she's been on the theatrical stage less than these gals, right? And first of all, you asked about supporting role. I don't like that word, supporting. But, you know, Jen, I think what's been so humbling is that Jen has become so part of our family in making this piece work. And that's beautiful. That's been really, really genuinely beautiful to see. And that's come out of us all listening to each other. And I, going back to the issues of colour, as an elderly white man.
You said it, I didn't.
Well, you know, yeah, I said both of them. Elderly white man, telling the story of the colour purple. It's been really deeply humbling to feel that we were all in the same room at the same time.
And I don't think it could have worked if, you know, we wasn't on the same page.
Absolutely.
You know, and not on one accord. And I think we're all extremely on one accord. And I think that's the magic. I feel like everybody feels starting with the head over here.
Well, still, it looks like when you take when the characters are over with, you take your bows, and I always look to see how the actors are. I think these people are really having fun in this show. The people on stage are having as much fun as the people in the audience doing it. So it's a terrific revival of The Color Purple at the Bernard B. Jacobs Theater, directed by John Doyle, and starring Danielle Brooks, Cynthia Erivo, and Jennifer Hudson. Thank you very much for being our guest tonight on Theater Talk.
It is a breathtaking experience.
Thank you.
Our thanks to the Friends of Theater Talk for their significant contribution to this production. Theater Talk is made possible in part by the Frederick Lowe Foundation, the Corey and Bob Dinelli Charitable Fund, the Noel Coward Foundation, Carrie J. Fries, the Dorothy Strelson Foundation, and the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs.
We welcome your questions or comments for Theater Talk. Thank you.